When the law enforcement documents were leaked and your name was the first to appear, everything changed in an instant. Instead of reacting with fear or defensiveness, you stayed calm and in control. You didn't become a victim of the chaos. You took command of it. With steady resolve and strategic silence, you shifted the power dynamic, turning those who sought to accuse you into witnesses of their own failure. This wasn't just about survival. It was about taking control and rewriting the narrative on your terms. Your strength wasn't loud or aggressive. It was deliberate and unwavering, proving that true power comes not from words, but from actions and restraint. What followed was a transformation, from being targeted to becoming untouchable, a force that no accusation could break. If you want to follow this journey and see what happens next, hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach 5,000 subscribers, and leave a comment for them. The moment the dam burst, everything changed. Confidential documents meant to stay hidden were suddenly splashed across headlines and digital screens worldwide. This wasn't just another leak. It was a seismic event that rattled the foundations of power and trust. The chaos was immediate. Systems meant to protect crumbled, secrets spilled out, and countless lives were thrown into turmoil. In the eye of this storm, your name surfaced first, like a beacon in a dark night, but one meant to burn you down. The weight of that exposure was suffocating, the kind that could shatter even the strongest spirit. But leaks aren't just about information, they're about control. The very act of leaking is a weapon, a means to rewrite narratives and assert dominance over the vulnerable. You knew this instinctively. The system was desperate to pin the blame, to find a scapegoat, and your name was at the forefront of that hunt. The pressure was relentless. The public's eyes hungry for answers, for justice, or simply for drama. It was the perfect storm, designed to break someone like you, to silence you. Yet beneath the public uproar and flashing cameras, you felt something else, a quiet power stirring. The leak was a challenge, but also an opportunity. In a world where everyone screamed to be heard, you realized that sometimes the loudest statement is silence. The system had underestimated the strength that comes from stillness, the unyielding resolve that grows from refusing to play into their hands. The dam had broken, yes, but so had their hold over you. This was the beginning of a new narrative, one you would write on your own terms. When your name was dragged to the surface, it felt like a spotlight, but not the kind that shines warmly. It was cold, harsh, relentless. Being the first to be accused means becoming the face of a crisis, the public's villain, the media's headline, the system's fall guy. Every whisper, every accusation was amplified, echoing louder in every corner. The vulnerability was real. There's a rawness in being exposed so brutally, like being stripped of your armor and left to fend off a storm alone. But this exposure was a double-edged sword. Yes, it made you visible, but it also forced you to confront the narrative head-on. You couldn't hide in the shadows anymore. The world was watching, judging, and waiting for you to falter. The vulnerability was terrifying, but it was also a moment of clarity. What did you want to become? A victim of circumstance, or someone who shapes their own destiny? The answer was clear. Your name at the top of the list was not a sentence. It was a call to action. History is filled with people who have been unfairly targeted, but transformed that targeting into their greatest strength. Think of those who, when pushed to the brink, refused to break. You were on the same path. Every rumor, every smear campaign, every sneer and doubt was fuel, not poison. You knew that true power isn't given, it's taken. And so, you stood tall in the face of that storm, not as a victim, but as a force to be reckoned with. There's a haunting moment when accusations come crashing down, a moment where many crumble, where doubt seeps in like a poison. But for you, that moment became a turning point. Instead of breaking, you became unbreakable. The accusations, no matter how loud, were just noise against your inner resolve. It's a rare kind of strength, the kind that doesn't shout, but stands firm amid the chaos, unyielding and calm. Imagine a glass, fragile under pressure, but unbreakable when held with intention. That's the paradox of your journey. The weight of being accused could have shattered your spirit, but instead it tempered it like steel forged in fire. You learned to wear your scars not as weaknesses, but as badges of honor, proof of your resilience and grit. Every word hurled at you was met with quiet dignity and strategic patience. This transformation is what separates the fleeting from the enduring. Many fall in the face of adversity, but few rise with the dignity and power you now embody. Your story is a testament to the human spirit's capacity to turn pain into purpose, to convert chaos into clarity. From accused to unbreakable, that is the story you live, breathe, and inspire. In a world obsessed with noise and spectacle, silence can be the most devastating strategy. When everyone expected you to fight back loudly, you chose silence, not as surrender, but as a weapon. The power of silence lies in its unpredictability. It unsettles those who crave reaction and control. You didn't fall into their trap of reactive anger or desperate explanations. Instead, you remained still, letting their accusations lose momentum. Think of silence as the calm before a storm, not empty, but charged with intention. Your refusal to engage publicly took away the oxygen that fuels gossip and lies. They expected a fight, a meltdown, a breakdown, but instead they found an immovable force. This silence wasn't weakness. It was your way of reclaiming power. By not feeding the fire, you made the flames die out on their own. The brilliance of this approach lies in its restraint. It's a masterclass in patience and strategic thinking. While others flailed, shouting their innocence, you let the truth breathe quietly in the background. This silent strength gradually dismantled their game, turning the spotlight away from you and exposing the fragility of their own positions. One of the most powerful moments in your journey was when you shifted the narrative entirely. You stopped being the accused and made those who attacked you the ones on trial, not in court, but in the court of public opinion and conscience. Instead of defending yourself, you forced them to confront their own actions, their own betrayals, and their own failures. This reversal was more than strategy. It was psychological warfare. When you turn accusers into witnesses, you expose their vulnerabilities and inconsistencies. Suddenly, they are the ones who must explain, justify, and reckon with their guilt. It's a profound shift in power, from defense to offense, from hunted to hunter. And you wielded this shift with unmatched precision. There's a profound justice in this approach. It's not about revenge. It's about truth. By turning the tables, you showed that real strength is about control over the narrative and yourself. You made your accusers uncomfortable in their own skin, forcing them to look in the mirror and face the parts of their story they'd rather keep hidden. Ruthless restraint. It sounds like a contradiction, but it's the secret weapon you mastered. When the world screamed for your reaction, for your breakdown, or for a public war, you chose to hold back. This restraint wasn't born from weakness or fear, but from a deep understanding of power. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in what you don't say and don't do. Every moment you held your tongue was a moment they lost control. This discipline took tremendous emotional strength. To watch accusations fly and feel the urge to strike back, only to choose calm instead, is a kind of mastery few can claim. It's a demonstration of emotional intelligence and strategic thinking rolled into one. This restraint confused and frustrated your opponents. They tried to provoke, to bait you into mistakes, but your silence and patience were impenetrable shields. In a world that rewards loudness, you showed that measured power speaks volumes, louder than any outburst ever could. Silence can speak in ways words never will. Your silence became the loudest statement, echoing through every conversation and headline. It wasn't passive. It was a deliberate choice to communicate strength, dignity, and control. When everyone else was shouting, your silence was a beacon of calm reason. Silence allowed space for reflection, for others to question, to doubt the narrative spun by your accusers. It invited curiosity and suspicion toward those who tried to frame you. More importantly, it preserved your energy and focus for the battles that truly mattered. Words can wound, but silence can protect and empower. This isn't just poetic. It's strategic. The silence was your message. I will not be dragged into chaos. I will not let my voice be weaponized. In doing so, You reclaimed the narrative, proving that sometimes the absence of words carries the heaviest weight. The accusers believed they held all the cards, that their leaks and accusations gave them ultimate control. But you shattered that illusion. Control is never absolute, and your journey proved that power is not about domination through noise or force, but about resilience and perception. By refusing to play their game, you took away the script they wrote for you. The illusion that they controlled your fate began to unravel as you quietly rebuilt your own reality. This shattered their confidence and forced a reckoning within their ranks. They exhaust you, dilute your strength, and give more fuel to your detractors. You reached that moment and decided to stop trying to justify yourself to a world that was ready to judge no matter what. This decision was liberating. It released you from the exhausting cycle of defense and attack. Instead of chasing validation from outsiders, you focused inward on your values, your purpose, and your truth. This shift in mindset changed everything. You no longer needed permission to exist or to be right. No more pleading means reclaiming your power. It's a declaration that you are beyond the need for approval, and that your worth is not tied to external judgment. This attitude not only preserved your strength, but inspired others caught in similar storms. One of the most profound impacts of your silence and restraint was how it forced your accusers to face themselves. When you stopped feeding the narrative, they were left alone with their own motives, insecurities, and guilt. It's a psychological trap. Without a target to attack, their own reflections became inescapable. This forced introspection exposed their flaws, hypocrisies, and moral failings. It's often said that when you stare into the abyss, it stares back at you. You made sure your accusers felt that gaze intensely. Their confidence cracked, their stories unraveled, and their credibility began to collapse under the weight of their own contradictions. This is the power of holding your ground without aggression. You didn't just survive the storm, you turned it inward, making those who sought to destroy you confront their darkest truths. Silence, when wielded strategically, is a weapon more precise and lethal than any verbal attack. You transformed silence from mere absence of words into a force that dismantled your accusers' credibility and will. While they shouted and gestured wildly, your silence cut through the noise like a surgeon's scalpel. This weaponization of silence was intentional and methodical. It disarmed their tactics by refusing to provide the emotional reaction they craved. Without your participation, their narrative lost momentum, and the public began to question the validity of their claims. Silence exposed their desperation and weakness. In essence, your silence became an invisible armor and an invisible blade, protecting you while weakening your opponents. This dual function of silence is rare and powerful, and you mastered it with precision. Betrayal cuts deep, deeper than any public accusation. It's a personal wound, a fracture in trust that shakes your foundation. But you didn't let betrayal break you. Instead, you rose above it. You transformed the pain into fuel, the wounds into wisdom, and the scars into symbols of your strength. Rising above betrayal means choosing your own path rather than being defined by others' actions. It means refusing to be a victim and embracing your own narrative. You reclaimed your identity not as someone betrayed, but as someone resilient beyond measure. This rise is not easy or fast. It's a journey marked by introspection, forgiveness, and fierce determination. But it's the only path to true freedom and power. You walked this path with courage and grace, proving that even the deepest wounds can give birth to unshakable strength. Manipulation and lies are chains that bind the innocent in shadows. You recognized these chains and shattered them. By refusing to engage with falsehoods, by standing firm in your truth, you liberated yourself from their grip. This freedom is priceless. It's the clarity that comes when you refuse to be fooled or controlled. Breaking free is a mental and emotional revolution. It requires seeing through deception and refusing to be baited. You made this revolution your reality, turning your personal story from one of entrapment to one of liberation. This freedom also serves as a beacon for others ensnared in similar webs. Your journey demonstrates that even in the darkest moments, truth and integrity can break through and reclaim light. True power often hides in the shadows, silent, unseen, but deeply felt. You became that power. While others chased spotlight and noise, you cultivated influence through presence, wisdom, and calm. This unseen power is far more enduring than any fleeting fame or public approval. Operating from the shadows gave you the advantage of observation, strategy, and control. You were not distracted by petty battles or fleeting opinions. Instead, you focused on the long game, building a foundation that no scandal or storm could shake. This kind of power is humbling and mighty. It commands respect without demanding it and influences outcomes without overt force. You embody this rare, quiet strength, the kind that moves mountains without making a sound. Ultimately, your story is about domination through silence. You conquered the narrative not by shouting louder, but by refusing to be drawn into the noise. Dominance is often mistaken for aggression, but you proved it can be the quiet, steady presence that outlasts and outmaneuvers any opponent. Dominating without words is an art form. It's the mastery of presence, the command of calm, and the strength of restraint. This approach demands patience, wisdom, and immense self-control, qualities you now embody fully. Your journey is a lesson that power doesn't need to be loud to be absolute. Your silence has become your legacy, a powerful reminder that sometimes the greatest victories come not from fighting, but from standing firm, unshaken, and unspoken. The instant the truth was thrust into the public eye, it transformed into a battlefield where facts were weapons and perceptions the battleground itself. It wasn't just about what was revealed, it was about who controlled the story that followed. The documents were more than paper. They were catalysts for chaos, turning allies into enemies and shaking faith to its core. You found yourself at the epicenter of this storm, caught between the fragile balance of fact and fiction. But truth, like fire, can both destroy and forge. In the heat of accusations and doubt, you realized that standing firm was your only way forward. This battlefield demanded not just strength, but strategy, not just defiance, but wisdom. Every move you made